This could be the biggest bowl slate in Big 12 history. Will BYU pull it off? Can Iowa State handle Miami? And TCU will blow out Louisiana, right? This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. We will start by picking every bowl game today. BYU, Colorado, that's the nightcap. Who wins it? Then in the middle segment, that's kind of embarrassing. Why do two Big 12 teams have to play in bowl season? I get we're excited about it, but this should never happen. And then we'll recap big wins from the Big 12 that have happened so far this December. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Without further ado, we will start with the one that I think needs as little analysis as possible, because TCU is going to roll over Louisiana. This is a Louisiana program I think should be respected and should not be overlooked by TCU, but their defense, putrid, horrible. And by the way, this is a school that has been riddled with either transfer portal additions, or I say additions, subtractions, or opt-outs, because that is the nature of the game for a team outside of the Power Four. We already know a lot of Power Four schools are having guys sit out of their bowl games for the NFL draft or go in the transfer portal. Group of 5, group of 6, whatever you want to call it, those schools, by and large, have already lost their best players because they want to find their next spot. I would do the same thing. And it's, to an extent, a loyalty deal. But if I play 2 years at ULL or at Western Kentucky, and then TCU calls or Texas Tech calls or Baylor calls and says, hey, not only can we give you more money, we can give you an opportunity to compete for a national championship, to compete at the highest level in the Big 12. I'm probably receptive to that, understanding that in today's world where none of my comrades who were here 2 years ago when I got to ULL are still here, they all went in the portal, I want to go compete. That is the nature of the roster for ULL. Even if all of the players they had did play, they were the number 108 rushing defense in the country. TCU wasn't great, 56th best rushing offense in America, but that's a whole lot better than 108. Against the pass, ULL is 64th. TCU is 23rd throwing the football. Give me the Horned Frogs to win today. Give me the Horned Frogs to win big. I like TCU with 41 points on the board. Why? Because bowl season has been very kind to the offenses. 41 points on the board for the Raging Cajuns. They'll put up 24. TCU will cover 10. The ULL is going to get theirs offensively, I guess, but in the end, a 17-point win for the Horned Frogs. Let's move to Miami and Iowa State. Enough Miami guys have entered the transfer portal that this, in my opinion, has swung the way of Iowa State to the point I do believe the Cyclones win. Now, if you ask Las Vegas, they're not riding Iowa State, and I understand why. Miami in the regular season was going to be all this college football playoff juggernaut, and they're going to vie for a national championship. A lot of folks had them in their Final Four. And even advanced statistics, if everyone did play for Miami, would favor Miami by 4. But that's not the case. And also, this is a game of momentum. I hate to say this, but truly, it doesn't matter for Miami near as much as it matters for Iowa State. Matt Cantwell talked about it in his press conference this week. He wants to win 11 games. It's never been done before at Iowa State. And for Miami, they've done this. They've been here. Their expectation this year was an ACC championship, a bid to the college football playoff to vie for a national championship. And guess what? Here's the most backbreaking part. A month ago, on November 30th against Syracuse, up by 3 scores, they felt it. They could taste college football playoff. They could taste that glory, and they lost. That's why I don't have a lot of confidence in Miami, because what do they have left to play for? Yeah, Cam Ward's going to be out there. Maybe buy him some insurance too. You lost 2 out of your last 3 games against Georgia Tech and Syracuse. And the game you won, you didn't even struggle. This wasn't like, just kind of tough down the stretch. Now Miami's recollected. No, you lost to Georgia Tech. Then you blew Wake Forest out of the water. You showed, hey, we've still got it together. We're not just on this hard times have hit us, and now we got to really rally. No, you blew out Wake Forest. Then you lost to Syracuse up by 3 scores. Rocco Beck, Abu Sama. When you Google opt-outs for Iowa State, it says here, 0 players have opted out for Iowa State. With 2 NFL caliber wide receivers, Carson Hansen at running back as well, a 2-headed running back core. Rocco Beck to quarterback. The offense of Iowa State is going to carry the Cyclones. They will score 34 points. Miami will score 24 points. It is a 10-point victory for the Clones today. Then there is BYU and Colorado, the granddaddy of them all in the Big 12. Because this is, as Jake Retzlaff said, the People's Big 12 Championship, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if I can agree with that. Arizona State boat raced the Big 12 title and beat BYU. So but hold off there. But I get it. I understand. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance around this one. And very torn, have gone back and forth after talking with Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs, heavily leaned Colorado. After talking with Jake Hatch off the air of Locked On Cougars, back to BYU. I think where I've settled today, as of the time of recording, I'm going BYU to win this game 31-28. And it looks pretty similar to that Kansas State game. Here's the difference for BYU to be able to win against Colorado. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Buffs pull it. I mean, this is me giving you the toughest pick maybe of the entire year. BYU, 22nd in the country running the football. Colorado, 43rd against the run. Colorado offensively, 73rd throwing the football against BYU's rush defense. That's 27th in America. So Colorado won't be able to stop the run. Colorado won't be able to run the football. BYU is going to sell out for the pass, and they have the 12th best passing defense efficiency-wise in the country. That's not me giving you some kind of false narrative, blowing hot air up your skirt. This is just me giving you the analytics and the numbers. I think BYU wins this game by a final score of 31-28. And it's a defensive or a special teams play that seals it for the Cougars. Kalani Sitake's squad has been made off of basically that this year, the middle eight. And that's why so many people called them lucky. Was, oh, well, they're making a lot of defensive or special teams plays or creating turnovers that might not happen in every game or when they play a team that doesn't turn the ball over. And granted, Colorado, when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he's going to throw 3 picks in this game. He doesn't have to. It's just that one backbreaking pick or that one muffed punt that BYU can take advantage of. And other teams have taken advantage of muffed punts against BYU this year, but I'm going to go with the Cougars here in a tight game. This is, again, one of the toughest I've had to pick all year long. I've landed on BYU, I think, to win it 31-28. Coming up, that game even being played is an embarrassment. Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. If you're anything like me, you have a ton of subscriptions that kind of get thrown under the rug and then you kind of forget about them a little bit. And then by the time you realize that, you're like, oh shit, I'm paying for this twice? What's going on? Rocket Money is here to help you find any of those subscriptions and cancel them. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors spending, helps you lower your bills so you can grow savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, even the goals you want to hit this year. They have helped save a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. For me, I loved it. I had like 3 Premier Pro subscriptions. I don't anymore, thanks to Rocket Money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Do you ever think about what a slap in the face it is that BYU and Colorado have to square off against one another in a bowl game? Now, I wasn't on this plan when it was first announced because I was so excited. We were going to get to see what Jake Retzlaff called the People's Championship. Do I actually believe it's that? I don't know. I should probably back up off of that just a little bit. But this truly is one of the biggest games you could conjure together because in the regular season, we thought this would be the Big 12 championship. We thought it would be. Was it? No. Did Arizona State deserve to win it? Absolutely. But now we at least get to see it on the field. And while A, I'm excited for that kind of matchup, B, this is going to put a loss in the Big 12 category when ESPN flashes their bowl tracker. There was a mix-up, some confusion. You know, the Pac-12 has a contract with the Alamo Bowl, and so there's a way that an old Pac-12 school has to go to the Alamo Bowl, and they're going to have to probably face a Big 12 school because that's what the contract says. And I understand contracts. I understand that we've, given our word or our money or so, but hasn't that almost all been entirely thrown out the window with everything else? The college football playoff contract. You had it signed in there that 5 schools, the top 5 conference champions, would make it in. Plus, it was 5 + 1, 6 total teams getting an auto bid. Last second, we could pull out of that. The Alamo Bowl, even if you cannot You then have to do everything in your power to make sure bowl eligible Washington State or Oregon State or whoever finds their way to the Alamo Bowl, and it's not two Big 12 teams squaring off. ESPN is salivating because they get to win no matter what. They're going to get maybe the most watched bowl game out of anything not in the college football playoff, and they're going to get the Big 12 to beat itself. They just got a free Big 12 championship. We just handed ESPN the Alamo Bowl, a free extra Big 12 game. Will it have more fans than the actual game in Arlington? You better bet. Does that change who should have gone to Arlington? Absolutely not. But it's a fact. And ESPN knows that. Will it get more viewership than the actual Big 12 championship? I would put my entire mortgage on it. And that doesn't, again, dilute what happened in Arlington, but it goes to show that ESPN is going to get an extra piece of our product and face two of our teams together in one of the biggest matchups you can get. And in the end, the Big 12 loses. There is not an outcome where both BYU and Colorado can win. There's not an outcome where at the end of the day we can say, hey, the Big 12 had X amount of double-digit win teams because if BYU goes and beats Colorado, we can't anymore. Had Colorado had a shot against A&M or USC or North Carolina, that would be different. But it's not the case they've given you when they pit two of our best against one another. And you cannot tell me that this was unintentional. I know how it works. I sit in the press boxes. I watch as the Sugar Bowl people, the Alamo Bowl people, the Pop-Tarts Bowl people come in and they sit down next to me and they scout out the game. They're not scout. Nobody's going back to their committee and going, well, I am the scout for the Alamo Bowl, and I do believe Shedeur Sanders is a very fine quarterback. No, it still comes down to who you invite based off the wins in the Big 12. And I can guarantee you it's not just up to this bowl committee. It's not just up to this, but there are other factors at play for pitting two Big 12 teams together. Well, we had a contract, so we had to do this. That's not how it worked for anybody else. Everything else had structure. We threw it for a loop. And even if there is a contract, it doesn't explicitly say it has to be one of the four Pac-12 teams that came over to the Big 12. It could be USC. Would have been a perfect Alamo Bowl for BYU and USC. For Colorado and BYU to play this game is absurd. Colorado USC would have been great. And I don't, here's where they get us is you and I haven't complained much about this, have we? Kalani Sitake hasn't, Deion Sanders hasn't. Those are the guys who are just going to play the teams who are in front of them. They're not going to give a word about this. Even the athletic director is like, all right, cool. Brett Yormark hasn't said anything. Where I got lost was the luster of this game, was getting so excited that we get to see a matchup that I told you in week 12. I said on this show and said, we are going to get a BYU Colorado Big 12 championship because that's what we deserve. That's what we were promised. And that's somehow, when the tiebreakers are all said and done, what we're going to get out of this. Wasn't the case. And again, now that we do get it, I'm excited. Yeah, I was excited then, and that's why I haven't brought this up yet, is because I was so excited to actually see this game on a football field. But what I've come to my senses of is we don't need to do this. We don't need to. We talked all year about how bad it would be to cannibalize ourselves, and now we're letting the bowl season help us cannibalize, force us to play one another, force us to lose an extra game, and now ESPN can say, well, the Big 12 has lost another bowl game. Oh, this mighty Big 12. You guys wanted to scream in our face how the Big 12 needed more publicity and how the Big 12 needed more love. Well, he just lost another bowl game. What if BYU goes and beats the Heisman Trophy winner? What if BYU goes and beats Deion Sanders? What if Deion Sanders beats a double-digit win BYU team? What if they do it in the face of a crowd that's going to be insane with blue and white? You won't get the same credit as if it was out of conference. It will matter just as much. That's maybe, I keep saying this is the biggest issue. This is the biggest, but then I think of another issue. The players are going to fight. They want to win this game even more because so they've created this delusion Now we're all delusional that what they're doing for us is a good thing. Oh, the players are so excited to play Colorado. They're so excited to play another Big 12 team. And again, Jake Retzlaff is pushing that. I don't think he's wrong by saying, I don't think he's wrong for thinking this is the people's Big 12 championship. I don't think he believes that Arizona State shouldn't be in the college football playoff, but he's giving that sentiment because now we have this delusion that, oh, thank you, college football gods, for giving us this game. And they knew it. They knew that's how we'd feel. Oh, it's just... They sprinkle a little manna for us. BYU fans get that reference. Sprinkle a little manna in there. Dance, monkey, dance. Look, college football fan, we gave you the one you wanted. But ultimately, it's hurtful. Ultimately, we don't get anything out of this for the Big 12. Brett Yormark gets no extra branding. We get one good night on ESPN, but guess who benefits most from that? ESPN. That's where I am. That's where I am right now. All right. It's just kind of sad that they make us do this. Coming up, let's recap some of these bowl games. Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is where I go. Oh, last night, went to a Wyatt Flores concert in Fort Worth. And it was cheap, and it was fun, and there were cervezas, and I loved it. And Game Time right now has the lowest prices guaranteed. To credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time gives you a seat view, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. They cover your ticket with the single most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. That's right, $20 off your first purchase. Game Time, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. It is Game Time. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Rutgers quarterback. 14 for 32. The kid had a ton of consonants in his last name. Kaliakamanis, I think. The rushing attack, 36 carries and could muster 164 yards off 36 carries. Facing a Kansas State team that had 347 yards on the ground, 8.3 yards per rush. A quarterback who throws for 195 and 3 touchdowns. This was, despite the score, domination. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. What? Domination? There's no way. There were points in this game where Rutgers had a shoe-in to go win against Kansas State. And for the Kansas State Wildcats, they couldn't do jack squat. At one point, it's a 95% chance, 34-17, 95% chance for Rutgers to win. But I thought from that first drive where Chris Tennant knocks in a 29-yard field goal, oh, shoot, I should go to FanDuel and double down my bet. I should live bet because Kansas State is dominating the line of scrimmage. As much as Rutgers is an advantageous football team, meaning they take advantage of the opportunities given to them. As much as Rutgers can be frustrating because you think, oh, shoot, Greg Schiano, good coach. Rutgers, to shoot you straight, good football team. I'm tired of the rhetoric that a Purdue in an on year or a Rutgers or Maryland in an on year is just not very good. This is still a Big Ten team that a Big 12 squad went and beat. That Big 12 squad being Kansas State, who struggled down the stretch, lost 3 of 4 there late, and you thought, oh, shoot, are they going to have enough momentum, enough juice to go beat Rutgers? They did. Not only did they, but they got down 30, but they said, hey, do you want a 17-point head start? You can have it. We will still go find a way in the end to beat you. And we'll do it with players who have not opted out of the bowl game. And we understand most of Rutgers has not opted out of this bowl game. But for Avery Johnson, who was brother, someone predicted to win the Heisman Trophy by New York Post preseason. He's going to play this game, and he's going to do enough to facilitate a win for Kansas State. What I do believe has been proven, one, middle of the pack Big Ten is not that close. to middle of the pack Big 12. Again, if you watch this, I do believe if you're a Kansas State fan and you watch this, you know the Wildcats pretty much dominated this game. If you're a Rutgers fan, you feel like, well, shoot, we were advantageous, took advantage of the opportunities, but outplayed overall by Kansas State. The preseason Heisman Trophy candidate, Avery Johnson, 195, 3 touchdowns, did enough. And then from there, Dylan Edwards, the transfer, 18 carries. That's all. 18 carries. Not a ton. Avery Johnson had 11. Avery Johnson had 11 carries for 57 yards. 5.2 yards per carry. That's pretty good. Dylan Edwards, 18 carries. Only 7 more. Avery Johnson, 11 for 57 yards. Dylan Edwards, 18 for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, along of 65 yards. Jace Brown, 5 receptions, 60 yards. A touchdown catch from Joe Jackson, who also, by the way, went 7 carries for 50 yards today. Do it all, baby. Dylan Edwards, 2 receptions, 27 yards, a touchdown, 3 total touchdowns on the day. That's it. Oh, no DJ Giddens. I don't know if Kansas State's going to be themselves. Could they be able to pull off a win against the Rutgers team that's so good? I'll give it to you again. Greg Schiano has this school, this program in the right spot. But Chris Kleiman in Kansas State went out tonight, and said, look, I don't care if you're middle of the pack Big 12. No matter what the score is, we're going to go win a football game. Second half, 27-14, Kansas State on top of Rutgers. And this would have been a bigger blowout if Kansas State didn't go for 2. Down by, it was pitiful, down by 9. All you got to do is kick an extra point, and Kansas State said, nope, we're going for 2. And that threw the entire score for a loop pretty much from jumping this game. But still, what I learned here, 14 for 32, that was the opposing quarterback. 18 for 113, opposing running back Raymond, who was good. They were good players. The Ian Strong kid, the Rutgers receiver, 105 on 5 receptions. Good. But what I learned is that it doesn't matter what the final score is. You can watch it, line of scrimmage. You can watch it, special teams, and just see one school dominate. You can see one portion of the field dominate. And that was the case for Kansas State. Drive 1. Line of scrimmage was going to be the Wildcats. From there, I knew. That's it. That's all I need to see. It's all I need to see. The Wildcats. That's what it took. Dominate line of scrimmage, come back, toy with them, wave a win in their face. Oh, want to win it? Oh, just kidding. Just kidding. That's what you did. I'm fine with it. Big 12 is 1-0 against the Big 10 in the bowl season. What does that mean? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Right now, new customers can finish the season with $200. That's right, $250 actually in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. Which player will score a touchdown? Derrick Henry or Joe Burrow running the football or Saquon Barkley? And how many points will each team score? So much more. All of that can be bet on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Visit FanDuel today. Again, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. That'll do it. Kansas State wins. Dominate may be a strong word for you, but it works for me because I watched the game and I just didn't ever think Kansas State deserved to be down. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.